Rania Madi is a Palestinian lawyer, a woman whose life has been shaped by resilience and a relentless pursuit of justice. Born in Palestine, in a lively home with 5 sisters and 2 brothers, her childhood was touched by warmth but shadowed by conflict. Exiled by the Israeli army, she was forbidden to return for 39 years. 39 years away from the land where her story began. But distance did not weaken her resolve. In Switzerland, she pursued her studies, specializing in international humanitarian law at the prestigious University of Geneva. Her path was guided by one unshakable purpose: to defend those whose voices have been silenced by war and by oppression. From international conference to the halls of the United Nations, Rania has spoken for Palestinians and for displaced communities across the globe. Her own experience as a refugee fuels her passion, her belief that exile must never mean silence. Today, in AGORA, Conversations with Ángela, Rania shares her deeply personal view on what she calls the continuing retaliation against Palestine, now in its second year, and the terrible genocide. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our program, Conversations with Ángela. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Rania Madi, who is talking to us from Geneva, and she's a lawyer expert in human rights. Welcome to our program, Rania.
Thank you very much, Ángela.
Rania, first of all, we are going to talk to you about your childhood.
I born in Ramallah. It's a city in Palestine, 15 kilometers far from Jerusalem, because everybody knows Jerusalem. My parents, hopefully educated parents, so they were, for them, it was very important that I should have the highest education. We are 5 sisters and 2 brothers. So I grew up in Palestine until the age when I was really deported by the Israeli army. And they told me just 1 week, and I was 39 years without having the right to return back to Palestine until 2018.
Where did you go to the university, Rania?
I study in a master in Zurich and then another one in Geneva University. And 2008, when the first war in Gaza, I went to Strasbourg. Then I studied in one institute about human rights, because my first studies was international law and humanitarian law.
You didn't actually do your studies of law in Palestine. Where did you study law originally?
My first studies, as I told you, I started in Palestine until they kicked me out. I was 17 years old, first year university. So hopefully I came to Switzerland. I got scholarship in England, but because I want to study about colonization, and of course, we were colonized by Britain. So I told my dad, no, I refuse to study in France or in England. I prefer to be in any neutral country. So the intention was to study in Geneva, to work with the international organizations.
Rania, when you left Palestine, then you had never been able to go back.
39 years I was forbidden until the Swiss government, they interfered. Although I have the Swiss nationality in 94. So the Swiss authority, they interfere with the Israelis, and then I got the right to enter with a Swiss delegation, parliamentarians.
What did you find when you got back?
In fact, you understand when your parents became old, when your sisters get married, have kids, and the kids also get married and have kids. And the country completely changed, and the friends mostly either in prison or they are studying outside or they were killed or dead. You know, a lot of changes of the city. When I left, there is no Palestinian Authority. When I came back, there is a Palestinian Authority.
You're actually old enough to be in Europe, but what was it like to grow up in a Muslim country?
Yeah, it wasn't really the question, Muslim country. We never pronounce it because, Palestine, we have a lot of Christians. And also we live together. I live in an area where, I was all the time with my neighbors. We are half Christian, half Muslim. So we never have any problem, with this. I go to the church as well. I learn about the Islamic religion. So I didn't have any problem, by the way.
So, because you were in Palestine, you didn't have the restrictions that are against women in Muslim countries?
In fact, because we have the occupation, so the women have an important role. So we never have the same suffering like other Arab countries. I remember when I traveled to Jordan or Lebanon or Syria, I was surprised because the problems they have, we don't have. I remember when I go after midnight to distribute papers, to call people to demonstrate, to prepare ourselves. We were boys, girls, all together. We never have this problem. But at the end, it was changes, unfortunately, since 1997.
When you left Palestine, your parents and your family continued to live there?
All my family still living there. They are really they refuse to leave Palestine. They came and visit me, my sisters, my mom, my dad, everybody, but they prefer to return back to live in Palestine. They are against leaving Palestine.
In your specific case, why did you have to leave at the age of 17?
I didn't leave. In fact, I was under arrest. And because I was under 18 years old, so the Israelis told my dad, it's better she leaves for 1 week or 2 weeks and then she can come back. Then we will not judge her and put her in prison. And then when I tried to go back to Palestine to finish my studies, they never let me in. The reason why I left from Jordan to Syria, then I arrived Lebanon, then the war started in Lebanon, then I found myself in Tunisia. It was a very, very long journey.
In your studies, you you became a lawyer and a specialist in human rights. Did you do that specifically to defend your country?
In fact, when I arrived to Switzerland, and my first work was with the first Algerian president who just signed, the liberation of Algeria. And then he presented me to the mayor of the city of Geneva. And he told me, what do you want to study? I said, I want to be a lawyer. He said, no, you should study human rights and humanitarian law in order to defend your country. It's better than just a lawyer for normal cases, I mean public law. So it was a very good advice, especially Geneva. The United Nations is here and all the international institutions are in Geneva. So it's a very small, rich country with all these institutions. So it was really a great opportunity I got that I had the chance to study here in Geneva.
Very interesting, this working in Geneva or this working in Geneva on human rights. Rania, we are going to show you this picture and you tell us what you think of that.
First of all, it's terrible what we saw. I live with these pictures, but this is not new. I mean, the Israeli attack, if we want to speak about Gaza, since long, long time. And the first war was in 2008 in December, and then 2012, then 2014, then 2018, then 2021. And now we are since 8 months. Unfortunately, the horror is continue in the Palestinian territory, not just in Gaza. So this picture could be in any city in Palestine, not just in Gaza. This is why the people who said the war started in 7 October, this is wrong. The war, the terrible actions by the Israeli army, the occupation army, starts in 1948 and not in 7 October.
what is your version of the way that these things are happening, and as a lawyer, as a human rights lawyer, how do you see it?
In fact, why we arrive until we're here, because the international community, they never take the responsibility to end the occupation. You know, we have a lot of resolutions in the United Nations. We have a lot of commissions of inquiry. We have a lot of reports. But unfortunately, when it comes to, to applicate these things, nothing happened. Because, in fact, we understand the colonial countries, they support this colonial state of Israel. So this is absolutely normal that they don't want the Israeli to move. They don't want to end occupation. They want to destabilize the region by the presence of Israel. I am one of the people who prepared in 2000 a conference about one democratic state to live together in one state, and the people were represented in the parliament. They are Christian, Jews, Muslim, whatever their political party, leftist, right-wing, Islamic, etc. But unfortunately now I can tell you, it's very far. This project is very far. Because the Israeli, they never respect any of the international laws. They don't respect the humanitarian law. This is why I was obliged to go to the International Criminal Court with the Spanish lawyers and Spanish delegations who are represented in the European Union in order to bring a case about the Israeli army and the ones who gave them the orders in order to kill the people, to bomb the hospitals, and now I just see the ambulance which was shot, and the people who work, just to bring the ill people, the people who were injured to the hospital as well, they were unfortunately killed. So this is really, it's a crime against humanity, it's a war crime, and it's not just me who said that. All the lawyers in the world, when we speak about human rights and humanitarian law, they repeat the same words.
How is the case going on at the criminal justice?
The International Criminal Court is different than the International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice, in which started by the South African, the case, it's related to the United Nations, in which all countries are members. But me and the delegations, we were in the International Criminal Court, in which you can follow any criminal in the world. So this is why, as a human being, as a lawyer, as a person who believes of justice, and this is how we were able to finish many wars, like Rwanda, Namibia, the apartheid in South Africa, and other countries. It's because we went to the courts in order to bring justice, in order to end impunity, in order to hold Israel accountable. So unfortunately, the international community is still silent. They have good, resolutions, and let's say they criticize Israel, but they continue either giving money or arms. So how we will end with this colonizer if still the Europeans help, and the Americans as well, and many other countries? So this is why we have to call to hold accountable the Israeli leaders and the ones who give orders to kill the civilians in Gaza.
How is the case going on at the International Court?
In fact, I'm very optimistic because the Court of Justice, the International Court of Justice, they called us in April, and it's the first time they accept that we take pictures together, and they ask us questions. And when I told them we are waiting some positive result, they said, soon you will hear positive result. And we were happy when the first judgment was that there is a warrant arrest against Netanyahu and Gallant, and they are the two persons in which we follow them in the International Criminal Court. So I'm optimistic, but after some weeks, Netanyahu was invited to the American Congress, and people applaud for him, which is mean we don't care. You can hold the word arrest, but we are really supporting Netanyahu. So this is the problem.
That means that the case is mostly against the government or the people who are governing Israel rather than the Israel as a state?
Yes, of course. This is why the warrant arrest was against Netanyahu and Gallant.
It is very interesting that this is the way that things are happening, because sometimes on the news one gets the idea that if people don't support the war, it's because they're anti-Semites, and they are not. They are against Israel, but basically they are against the men who are trying to perpetuate this terrible killing and these terrible massacres. Rania, tell us now, in this moment in your life, what goes on?
It's really terrible. Every day there is a massacre. Saturday was holiday. I wake up with 100 persons have been killed. Children, really, you can't see their faces or their bodies. They put them in plastic bags, just, pieces of meat. You can't recognize them, unfortunately, Some people are dying of hunger. There is no water. There is a lot of illnesses. People have to follow the orders. They have to leave from one area to another. Unfortunately, the border is closed. They don't let humanitarian aid to enter Gaza, even the international organizations. I'm based in Geneva and I collaborate with them. Either the Red Cross International, World Health Organizations, Doctors Without Borders, and many others. They are unable to enter. Many kids, unfortunately, left without parents. Many parents lost the half of their families. Big buildings have been really destroyed. We can't find the people. Many people looking for some of their family, they don't see them. Some of them either killed and they didn't find their bodies. Other, maybe they are in prison in the Israeli prisons. And we saw one report appears by the Israeli newspapers about the way how they tortured the Palestinians, even they raped the men. Many have been killed. Many, they lost many kilos, because they give them just one meal a day. And it's terrible actions happen there. Really, I don't want to say that I don't believe anymore of human rights, but I feel bad when people from Gaza, organizations called me, Rania, what's happening in Geneva? I feel like I'm useless. I feel like a small kid unable to do anything. So this is the problem why I have always to address to the governments here in Switzerland, especially in the United Nations. As well, I go like monthly twice to the European Union, in order to find their support. But unfortunately, you hear good voices from them, but they don't do anything. They told me it's horrible, but when it comes to Israel, we can't do anything. This is the problem, yeah.
Rania, if nothing can be done from Geneva, how are we going to end this terrible genocide?
I feel bad to really to be pessimistic or even optimistic. But honestly speaking, I want to remind you how long the apartheid system was in South Africa, and now South Africa is free. How many years Algeria was colonized by the French, 130 years. More than 1 million who were killed, and now it's independent country. So there is many examples, if you want me to tell, about other colonizations. This is why our role to be optimistic, to continue informing people about the reality, until one day, the international community, they will feel responsible. because I have a lot of Jewish friends who are against what's happening there. Even some Jewish who live there in Israel, they are against. More than 500,000 left because they have other nationalities. They don't want to return back anymore. So this is why I think we should be more and more optimistic, although it's very, very hard when we know what's happening really in the ground. It's not just in Gaza. Last week they went to one of the camps, a very, really poor camp, and really they fire more than 35 cars. You imagine what's mean. Really, they uproot trees. They steal, the harvest of the many fruits, or they really throw very dirty water. So the question is not just killing people by arm, but also they use many other measures in order people to leave, because this is the objective of the Israeli system, to have a land with more Jewish and less Arabs. This is why they have a very, very racist laws, even when it comes to the Palestinians who didn't leave Palestine in 1948 when the State of Israel was created. This is why it's the important role of the international community really to end this colonization. Otherwise, it will continue years and years. And I will end here by one word. My mother is older than the State of Israel. The State of Israel old is 75 years old. My mother is 80 years old. So this is why we should keep hope in order to end this system of apartheid, occupation, colonization. The same like how the countries in Latin America were liberated.
Yes, Rania. There are several Latin American countries, one of them is Colombia, which are against what is happening and basically are supporting the position of South Africa. So we hope that this will happen. And so anyway, Rania, what we would like to wish you is to wish that everything ends well, and that you women who are trying to do something for this terrible war to end would probably succeed.
Yes, this is why we learn a lot from Latin America. I was in Ecuador, I was in Brazil, I was in Mexico, I was in Chile. We learn a lot of lessons from these countries. This is why one day, the country will never be free if the women are not free. So this is why we support a lot all fighters, especially the woman. The woman, she's a mother, she's a wife, she's the one who care about the country and everything when her husband in prison or killed. But now in Gaza, unfortunately, a lot of mothers were killed. So we have to help the whole population, not just the women. I thank a lot your TV to give me this honor and this intention to speak about what's happening in my country. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Rania, for being with us in this program. And we hope that this job that you are doing with women, with human rights, will probably come to a good end. And we can say, great, there's going to be a joint state in Palestine and Israel.
Thanks a lot, and I hope one day I will be meeting the women in Colombia and we will celebrate together the liberation of Palestine and the end of the colonization. Thanks, Colombia. We learn a lot from you.
Thank you, Rania. Thank you for being with us in this program, and we hope that there will be a future, a real future for both a joint country in Israel and Palestine and peace in the Middle East.